Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the subject of social science for the class 10th English medium. The chapter is H Natural Resources by Vitan Sir. Till now, we have completed almost 7 chapters related with the history and heritage of India. Now, we will move forward towards the geography part of the social science subject. This is the first chapter of geography portion, that is natural resources. In this, we will discuss number one, what is natural resource? Its types, soil and its formation, types of soil, soil erosion and its prevention. Now my dear friends, before we move forward, I will show you a little clip about the natural resource and its preservation.
Natural resources. The term natural resource refers to the source of materials generally held reserve in nature. Air, water, soil and minerals like coal, petroleum, etc. are the major natural resources. The living components in nature are animals and plants. As far as human beings are concerned, the natural resources are sources of energy which are essential for the survival and prosperity. Study at a glance. Air and air pollution. Water and water pollution. Biogeochemical cycles. Management of natural resources. The natural resources have been extensively exploited with the explosion of human population. This trend is posing a danger of gross scarcity of those natural resources which are exhaustible in nature. So, we should use our natural resources carefully, logically, rationally and ethically. Thus, management means scientific utilization of resources while maintaining their sustained yield and quality. Measures adopted for the management, conservation and replenishment of different natural sources are: management of fossil fuels, conservation of forests, conservation of wildlife, conservation and management of water resources, soil conservation, regulation of air pollution.
So my dear friends, as you have seen, what are the natural resources and how can we manage these natural resources? Now we will move forward with the uses of the resources. Resources are useful to us in many ways. We learn about its role gradually at every stage of human life. All activities from agriculture to industries ultimately depend on natural resources. Now let us know more about it. As you have seen in this picture, this is a tree containing many natural resources like air, salt, flora, fauna, water, petroleum, coal and many others could be included in this tree of natural resources. So these are the natural resources which we see in our lives. Resource as a food. Fruits grown naturally, crops from agriculture, milk and its products, etc. are part of natural resource as food which fill our belly, which satiate our hunger. As you have seen in this picture, there could be vegetables as well as non-vegetarian things which form our food chain. Resources as a source of raw material. Raw material are the basis for finishing a product. So nature gives us these raw materials. For example, wood from forest, minerals, agro products, wool and hide of animals. All of these things create a raw material on which we can build final products. Then comes resources as energy resources. Now energy could be coal, petroleum, natural gas, solar, wind, tidal, thermal, etc. And all of these things we get from nature. The only charge we have to pay is how to extract them. Otherwise nature gives all of these things at free of cost to us. We will start with the types of these natural resources. The first type being the ownership. The first type of natural resources is explained on the basis of the ownership. So on the basis of ownership, we will explain these natural resources. The second is on the basis of the distribution area. On which area they are distributed, on that basis we will discuss its types. And the third basis are the re-availability, whether the resource is available or not. On that basis we will discuss its type. So we will start with the first heading, that is the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership we can divide our natural resources into the first type, that is individual resource. Now individual resource is owned by an individual or a family, and we can take an example of land or building which is owned by some person, anyone. That's a individual resource. Then comes the national resource. National resource basically means something owned by a country itself. So the forests of India are owned by the Indian government. That becomes a national resource. Army, railways, forests, rivers, all of this can be known as the national resource. Then comes the global resource. Any resource which is used for the global welfare is considered the global resource. We can take common resources owned by all nations, that is oceans, Antarctics, Arctics, all of these places, things are owned by the whole world together. So that's a global resource. After ownership, we will discuss distribution area. Distribution area wise, first comes the universal resources. Any resources which are available universally, that's a universal resource. We can take an example of useful gases, oxygen, nitrogen. They are available everywhere. There is not a single place where oxygen or nitrogen is not available. So that's a universal resource. Next comes generally available resources. That means these resources are usually available everywhere. There might be places where they are not available, but usually they are. They are easily available for all. The example is soil, water, pasture land, etc. All of these things are usually everywhere available. In the sea, in the land, we can get drinking water, we can get land, we can get soil. All of these things are usually available. The third is the rare resources. They are not usually available everywhere because they are in the limited places or in the limited quantities. The examples are minerals, coal, petroleum, etc. These things are not available everywhere. They have a limited quantity. They will soon be exhausted. Thus, they are known as the rare natural resources. Then comes the solitary resources. Solitary means single. That means these resources are available at only one or at the most two places in the whole world. Remember the Captain America's shield? When it was introduced in the Marvel series, it was told that that's the only metal available in the whole earth. You can take that example as the universal resource. My mistake. Solitary resource. Another example given here is the cryolite available only at the Greenland. Then comes the third part, the last part, that is based on the re-availability. Here re-availability means the whether something could be available once again or not. The two parts here are, one is renewable, second will be non-renewable. The renewable means that resources which are once used can be used once again. That means we can again and again and again use the same resources, or the resources the supply of which is infinite. For example, you can say wind, solar, tidal, biogas, etc. Here wind, solar, tidal have infinite supply. They will keep on coming to us. It's up to us how much we can use that. While biogas is something which once used, we can again create a biogas and again use it. So it is part of a renewable natural resource. The second is the non-renewable natural resources. Here Resources which are once used cannot be used again, or the resources with limited supply on earth. Examples here are minerals, natural gas, petroleum, etc. As you can see here, the supply of minerals, the natural gas, the petroleum is very limited, and once we burn them, we cannot reburn them, we cannot reuse them, they are gone. So these are the non-renewable natural resources. Now, because these resources are so limited, we need to plan and conserve these resources, and for this, 3R or 3 Rays are important: the reuse, reduce and recycle. These three are the motto, the taglines for the conservation of resources. Our needs are unlimited while the resources are quite limited, and since hundreds of years we have used these resources, and we have been using these resources with huge amounts for the development of science and technology, and also for the sustenance of the increased population. Therefore, severe dangerous implications have been experienced and will be experienced in future if we still don't stop it here. It is not just anyone's but our duty also to conserve resources for the future generations. Resources should be conserved and should be used rationally. If the world conservation is directly related to the scarcity of resources, if the resources are exploited haphazardly and irrationally, then it will be a dream to maintain the development of the current lifestyle. That means if we want to maintain our current lifestyles, we have to stop using resources without plans, without any care or without shame. If we want to keep on living, not like cavemen but like civilized people, we need to maintain the current supply of resources in the future. When there is a danger of existence on the life of a tree or a human life, the arrangement made for it is called its conservation. First of all, what we need to do for that? First of all, gather information about the availability of utilized, unutilized and probable resources of any region or a country as a unit. Here it means whatever resources we have already utilized, resources which we have not yet utilized, and the resources which we might acquire, for which there is a chance that we might acquire them. We have to make a list of them so that we can plan it in the future. The resources which are limited or non-renewable should not be used, rather it should be used scientifically and should be used only where it is must. Without those resources we can't work, then only we should use those non-renewable resources. Attempts should be made to develop those resources for which we can gain them, that is renewable resources. The resources which are cheap and easily available should not be used, but rather they should be kept for the future, as these resources are easy and cheap, so if we keep them for future, our future is secured. Those resources which are in limited quantity should be conserved. Finding its alternative option through technical development is more favorable in the long term. Necessary laws should be formed for the conservation of resources and should be enforced strictly. Citizens should be well acquainted with all the facts associated with the rational usage of resources, and a public awareness should be cultivated. That means it is our job as the citizens to get all the facts and get all the knowledge about the usage of these renewable and non-renewable resources, and we should try to make aware others, our friends, relatives, neighbors, our acquaintances, so that they can also use the resources with sense.
Soil formation. The action of sun, water, ice, wind, and plants break huge pieces of rock to form soil. The process of soil formation is very slow, taking thousands of years, and is known as the weathering of rocks. The rocks are continuously exposed to the agents of weather, constantly heated by the sun and cooled by the rain. The alternate heating and cooling over a long period of time cracks the rocks in the following manner. Rain falling over heated rocks causes them to break due to sudden contraction. The rain collects in these cracks and may freeze in winter, forming ice. The ice in the crevices expands, causing the rocks to break into smaller pieces. Sometimes, due to strong winds and other natural causes, rocks may roll down, scrape each other, and break into smaller pieces. Sometimes the roots of a tree enter the crevices and as they grow and require more space for themselves, this results in the breaking up of rocks. The roots of some plants produce acid that helps in breaking the rocks. The continuous movement of water from streams, waterfalls, and rivers also break large rocks into smaller pieces. Thus, soil formation is a slow and continuous process.
Hence, in this clip, you saw how the soil is created. Soil is basically created from the denudation. Remember the word denudation of the rocks. That is the breaking of the rocks due to sun, wind, water, ice, and the plants. And with that, the upper layer of the earth's crust is formed, which is known as the soil. Now, we will move forward towards the types of the soils. Yes, my dear friends, the soil is not same everywhere. With the climatic changes, with the materials or minerals which are mixed with the soil, the plants, the biotic elements mixed with the soil and their proportion makes the soil different in each and every place. Therefore, the soil have been categorized into 8 different types, and we will see these types one by one with where are they situated, what type of soil they are, what plants can be grown in those soils. Everything we will see one by one. We will start with the first soil, that is the alluvial soil. As you can see that alluvial soil covers the 43% area of the whole India. That means alluvial soil is at the maximum places. It is formed due to the alluvial deposition of rivers, higher level of potash, phosphoric acid and limestone, less level of nitrogen and humus is seen in this alluvial kind of a soils. The crops like wheat, paddy, jute, sugar cane, etc. are grown in this kind of soils. They are usually found in northern plains of Brahmaputra Valley, delta regions of Mahanadi, the delta regions of Krishna, Godavari and Satluj rivers. Basically, alluvial soils are seen at the river banks because the whatever the clay, the dirt, the soil which river brings with it, it spreads on its banks, and that way the alluvial soil is created, which is quite fertile actually. The next type of soil is the red soil. As you can see in this picture, the red soil is seen. It occupies almost 19% of the total land in India. Red in color, this soil is due to the ferric oxide. There are the contents of lime, gravel and carbonate which are not found in this soil. Crops like millet, cotton, wheat, jowar, groundnut, potato, etc. are grown in the red soil. Red soil is quite good for these crops. It is usually found in Tamil Nadu and also between the area of Rajasthan and the Kutch. The next type of soil is the black soil. Black soil is considered quite fertile. It is also known as regur soil or black cotton soil. It covers 15% land of India. It is created, it has the maximum participation of lava rocks and climate factors. It has more proportion of iron, lime, potash and aluminium. It is really very fertile and really very useful for agriculture. It usually grows cotton, linseed, mustard, tobacco, etc. It is found in plenty in Maharashtra, also in western Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh and many parts of Gujarat, including Valsad, Surat, Ahmedabad, then the areas like Dang and all that. Types of soils, that is laterite soil. These laterite soil, the word laterite is derived from the Latin word later meaning break, as this soil is red in color due to iron oxide. It is smooth when it is wet but very hard when it dries. It is formed by continuous changes in dry and moist climates. It contains more iron, potash and aluminium. It is actually very less fertile, but using fertilizers we can grow cotton or paddy in it. It is usually developed in the higher area of the peninsular plateau. Actually, in the western Ghats of India, this soil is found in plenty. Next is the desert soil. As you have heard the word, it is seen in arid or semi-arid regions. It is sandy and very infertile with dissolved minerals. It is found in Rajasthan and Kutch regions of Gujarat. Many crops like millet and jowar can be taken, but with the help of irrigation facilities only. Mountain soil are found in the mountainous regions, valley and slopey regions of Himalayas at the altitude of 2700 to 3000 meters. It has a very thin layer, and it is actually underdeveloped. It is found in the regions of pine and cheat trees of Assam, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir. Forest soil. Forest soil, as you can see, are found in forest in the coniferous forests of Himalayas, Sahyadri ranges, Eastern Ghats and Terai regions at the altitude of 3000 to 3100 meters. It is covered by shaded and decaying leaves, and therefore its color is usually black. Many crops like tea, coffee, spices, wheat, barley, etc. are taken in this kind of forest soil. Marshy or peaty soil. As you can see in the picture, in humid regions with biotic elements, this soil is seen. It submerges in water during rainy seasons and emerges during the winter and summer. When water recedes, paddy is grown in this land as a huge amount of water is stored in it. There is very high level of biotic elements and minerals, but phosphate and potash are not there. It is found in Odisha, West Bengal, Almora district of Uttarakhand, etc. places. Usually it is also found in the delta regions of Ganga river. This is a map of India depicting soil-wise area covered, showing which soil is in which places of India. I have enlarged here the keys so you can read it properly and check it out in the map. If you want to, you can pause the video here to check out this map properly. This is very important map, as in your board exams one map point will be asked from this particular map for sure. It is compulsory. One type of a land is always asked. So what you have to do, you have to remember one region for one type of a land. For example, if you want to remember forest and hill soils, you can remember the Kashmir. If you want to remember red soil, then you can remember Jharkhand. If you want to remember the black soil, you can probably remember Maharashtra and MP. If you want to remember desert soil, Kutch is the better option. Laterite soil, you can remember the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats also. Alluvial soil is in the higher degree in Odisha and West Bengal, while pit soil is quite less, but if you want, you can find it in the map. It is very less in the quantity. So this is the map of India according to soils. We will move forward.
Soil erosion. Soil gets blown away by wind, or it can get washed away in running water. The process of wearing away of soil slowly over a period of time is called soil erosion. Soil erosion makes the land unfit for growing plants. In nature, soil keeps eroding, and at the same time, new soil keeps forming. So, there is a good balance between soil erosion and soil formation. This balance sometimes gets disturbed by human or other natural forces.
As you can see, what is soil erosion and how it happens was clearly explained in this small video clip. Let us move forward towards what can we do about this soil conservation. What we can do is that conserve that soil. The method of soil conservation, as you can see in this picture, this is a hilly and sloppy region where when the raining water comes, it just slopes down, it runs off from the slope along with taking the fertile layer of the soil with it. What can we do? Here there are two problems. One, the water is running off. The second, the fertile soil is also getting wiped away by the water. What we have to do, we have to create these kind of pits in those hilly regions. We sometimes call it horizontal farming, sometimes we call it pitting. In these pits, two advantages are there. Number one, the water doesn't run off, it gets stored in these pits created. As it gets stored in these pits, it gradually seeps into the land and land becomes more fertile. The second advantage is that the earth, the upper crust of earth doesn't get wiped away with the running water. Rather, it gets accumulated in these pits, and that fertile land accumulated creates a more fertile land for the crops. So by creating these pits, both of our solutions are solved simultaneously.
Soil erosion is a major environmental problem. It has affected all over the world, from forests to deserts. Thus, it's the need of the hour to conserve the soil by preventing the soil erosion. There are many ways of preventing soil erosion. One of the most common ways is to grow more and more trees. The roots of trees hold the soil firmly and do not allow it to wash away easily. Trees planted across the wind direction protect soil against the high velocity winds. Controlling overgrazing of the land by animals also controls the soil erosion. Building dams control soil loss. Some modern techniques of farming need to be practiced. For example, different types of crops should be grown at different times on the same land. Different types of crops should be grown in the alternate rows in the same land. These practices control the loss of soil and increase the fertility of soil. Remember friends, soil is a precious natural resource and it is our duty to conserve it for keeping the environment healthy.
So dear students, in this short clip we understood how can we prevent soil erosion, the prevention of soil erosion. We can plant trees, we can plant trees at the desert area, we can stop pasturing of land, we can create pits in the earth to stop the water from running off. There were so many solutions in this very short clip. We will move forward with our next topic. That would be remedies of soil conservation. That means how can we conserve our soil. The roots of the trees in forest cover holds up the soil particles like shown in the picture, and that way we have to plant more trees in the river banks and river gorges so that river doesn't wipe away the soil on the river banks, but the soil stays there and keeps on being more fertile rather than being the infertile land. A series of trees should be grown near a desert region to prevent the winds with more velocity. It will stop the advancing desert. Whenever the desert is there, the winds are very strong, which creates a more and bigger desert. But if we plant trees properly, the winds will be stopped in the trees and the desert will not advance. Rather, the desert will become a fertile land as we seen in the. The river flood should be controlled by diverting their flow in other rivers or in the dry river beds. When the rivers doesn't control, the river floods destroy the cities. But if we divert the excess water in rivers into dry areas, or if we keep on digging the river banks properly, the river will be contained. It will keep on moving slowly, perfectly without any floods. So excess flow of the river should be diverted to stop the problem of soil erosion by floods. The unrestricted pasturing loosens the soil layer on the mountains. It should be prevented. If animals pasture without any control, it destroys the grassroots, which actually keep the soil intact. So we should let them pasture with perfect management and control. So no animal should die hungry, but the soil shouldn't die without the grassroots. The methods like horizontal cultivation, terrace farms, etc. should be implemented. So with that, the soil is conserved, the land remains fertile, the water also is used better, and so that we can get higher cultivation with good fruits. And the last is that humus content should be added to the soil which has lost its fertility. Here humus means bioelements. It could be living and dead organisms. So basically humus means the organism. So here if we talk about earthworms, that's a living humus, living bioelements. Earthworms make the soil fertile. The second option is cow dung or the dead bodies of the animals or dead bodies of the biotic elements, which can also make the soil fertile. So here bio-waste can also be part of humus. So whenever a soil is infertile, we can add this humus content in the soil to make it fertile once again. So my dear friends, to conclude this tutorial, we can say that natural resources are a precious tool of sustaining life. Soil is an important part of this natural resource. Soil is categorized into 8 parts with different characteristics, regions and uses. Soil can be destroyed with man-made or natural factors. It is our duty as citizens to stop soil erosion and preserve upper layer of earth by any means necessary. My dear students, so thus ends our 8th chapter of the social science subject for the class 10th English medium, that is the natural resources. Next time we will meet again once with the 9th chapter of the category geography for the subject of social science. Till then, stay tuned, stay home and stay safe. See you soon.